Hello and welcome everybody to episode 1 of my Survival Mod Spotlight series. Now this is not one of my typical Let's Play series where we're just, doing everything, trying to progress through the entire mod pack, but I wanted to change it up a little bit. I want to cut out all the stuff that we have done so many times before, like exploring, mining, setting up ore processing, and all those kind of things, and focus on spotlighting one mod at a time. So for example, today we're gonna start with Botania, and it's probably gonna be the next altogether 3 episodes, possibly 4 depending on how fast I can be. And all that's gonna be is about Botania. We're gonna go from making the first part in Botania all the way to the end, trying to do every possible thing in that mod, even if it's items that I might not use later on. I catch myself many times doing that, I start with, for example, Botania and only make the tools and toys that I really want and don't ever look at the other things that you can make because, there might be a better alternative, a cheaper alternative from a different mod, and I don't want to do it this time. This time I'm going to go through certain mods that I have not covered many times before. So for example, don't expect any episodes, for example, about thermal expansion or applied energistics. I've done that many times with you guys and shown it in episodes. But in this series, I want to focus on mods, for example, like, to name a few, Botania, Witchery, Thaumcraft, possibly Blood Magic, because there's many parts of Blood Magic I've never gotten into, like the spells and so on. And then also other mods that are either new or I haven't done before. For example, what is it called? There is a, let me check here real quick. Let's just go through the list real quick. By the way, I'm playing this on FTB Infinity because I figured it's a very big mod pack that has a lot of the mods I want to do in it, and I believe it to be around a long time. It's very well supported, so I think that was a really good choice to do. Let me check here. Draconic Evolution, I want to go from A to Z. That's going to be a little later because we're going to have to farm a lot of mats, or I have to farm a lot of mats between. I'm also want to do bees, a couple of episodes together with Gendustry and genetics. Let's see here if I find something else. I want to cover Mistcraft, RF tools, and also things like, let me check real quick, the Runic Dungeons mod. And if I do any like tree farms or anything like that, this time I want to do it with Steve's carts. I've never really showed off that mod. It's a fantastic mod also, and really trying to, make everything off that mod. So, if there's any mods, if you go look through the list yourself on the FTB launcher, you might have it installed that you would like me to cover and you haven't seen me done in the past, just go down in the comments and let me know what you think. And like after we're done with all of Botania, I might throw in 1 extra episode just to give you a base tour, show off the ages that I've made and so on. But now, today, we're going to start with Botania, so let's get going. Alright, so the first thing in Botania that you want to make, if you don't find one of them in one of the dungeon chests, down in the mine shaft, or I believe you can also find them in villages, in the blacksmith chests, and so on. So I have found them many times, but I'm going to show you guys how to make one. All you need is a book and any kind of saplings to make yourself the Lexica Botania. Now, I definitely recommend you making this one. It is probably one of the better, if not the best. Oh wow, they changed the color of this book. Interesting. Best in-game guides that I have seen in Minecraft. Now, it's very cool. Okay, first of all, when you open the book for the first time, you go into basic and mechanics, and it explains it to you. I'm not going to read these pages to you. I leave that up to you. We're just sometimes going to look at the different pages to just show you guys that I think that are important, but otherwise just look through it. And the nicest thing is, and they also describe it in the book, to get started, read everything in italic. Okay? So you read on the first page all of these things, then on the next one, mana manipulation, you have 3, read, or 4, read those, and then those. It always just, you read, if you don't want to read anything, at least read the ones in italic. Now, of course, a lot of these things you guys have seen before, But the first one I want to get started with, and I have to go back to one of my Mistcraft ages in a minute to collect more flowers. But why did she just move? Huh. There's 16, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, yeah, 16 different flowers in Botania that you can find in the wild. And each one of them, when you take it out and put it into a crafting table, breaks down into 2 petals of that color. So, for example, the white one turns into 2 mystical white petals. The next item I usually always make in the beginning, just so I have it, but you don't need it much for Botania itself, is the pestle and mortar. Okay? And you just need a stick, a plank, and a bowl. Now, one thing you want to pay attention to is usually you make a bowl with just 3 planks. But because we have AgriCraft installed in this mod pack, it makes a wooden irrigation channel. And the way you make a bowl in FTB Infinity is with 3 planks, not 3 slabs, not planks. So you want to make one of those, and then just make yourself a pestle and mortar. Now, this pestle and mortar, what you use that for is to break down petals into a powder, 1-to-1, and it is a floral white powder. Now, this can be used as dyes. You guys see there's 16 different colors of flowers, 16 different petals, and of course 16 different powder. In most crafting recipes that require some kind of an ink or dye, I should say, allows you to use the powder from Botania. So it's a very nice way of getting dyes. Let's just see here real quick. Yeah, you guys see you can use it to color ME cables. And let's see how many there's. 3 pages that it shows it. But I know there's a lot more things that you can do with it. You can see you can use it to make other color dyes and so on. Alright, and now it's time to craft the first useful item from Botania, and that is the floral fertilizer. And for demonstration purposes, I did 4 different colors just to show you guys you can arrange them in any way you want, as long as they're the floral powder from Botania. It works. Actually, let's try here real quick if we can use some other dyes. No, so it has to be the floral powder from Botania, and then you make this floral fertilizer with it. And what you use that for is, you running around, and you in your area, maybe you have barely any more Botania flowers left, and you're tired of looking for them, but you have a lot of flowers, and you just make yourself this floral fertilizer. And when you right click grass, and I believe it also works on just dirt, it doesn't need to be grass, it grows anywhere, I believe, from 1 to 5. Let's see here real quick if it says it in the book. No, it doesn't tell us how many. Yeah, it shows you can use vanilla dyes also. I guess just the ink sac doesn't work. Alright, so, and then you can just harvest them, and again, we just got 4 of them. Means that would turn into 8 of the floral powder, which then you can make 8 flowers. So you pretty much double your flowers every time you make one of them. This time we only got 3. Let's keep going. This time we got 4. Let's see, the last one we got 3. So far we only got 3 and 4. Either we're really lucky or that's just normal. One of the main blocks that you're gonna need to craft a lot of the items in Botania, mostly to make flowers, other flowers, is the Petal apothecary. And the Petal apothecary, it tells you everything in here, but it's very simple to use. Is all you need is 2 slabs, 4 cobble, and a petal. And let's make one real quick. So we have it. And this is the Petal apothecary, and it tells you in the book, if you take the Petal apothecary and with a vine in here, I don't have a vine, I've never gotten around to getting one, then it changes a color. It simply, instead of looking like this, it has a lot of green. It makes it look weathered. Okay, so this is the Petal apothecary, and how this works is you simply put a, let me see if I have a bucket of water. Yes, I do. You right click it with a bucket of water and it fills it. And now when you drop in items from recipes in here, mostly petals and and a few other items, then you generate flowers. We'll get to that in a second. And every time you use it, it uses all of the water, and then you need to fill it again. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this up outside, wait for the rain to stop, and then we'll go ahead and craft the first flowers. I personally like to put my Petal apothecary one in the floor. Okay, it just makes it easier for me to dump the items into there that we need to make our different recipes and so on. But you know, you can leave it on the ground and then like put slabs around it, or use carpenter blocks and make yourself a really nice platform. And any way you'd like to do it. I personally just like to put them in the ground like this. Yeah, that's just a personal taste. Let's put a bucket of water in there so we're ready. And now the most important flower they need to make in this mod is called the Pure Daisy. Now the Pure Daisy turns wood, logs, and smooth stone into two different blocks that you need a lot to make. I'm gonna call them machines, magical machines in Botania. And the recipe for that is simply 4 white petals. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways how you can put petals into the Petal apothecary. Is you can simply drop them in one by one. Okay, I'm pressing Q, so it dropped them in. Of course, you can also drop them in from your inventory. If you ever see, if I right click, it actually, whoops, I don't know why, I must have the auto refill on. Okay, I don't want to have that. If I just right click or left click this, nothing happens. But what happens if you put in a wrong color? You messed it up. With an empty hand, you shift right click and you always take out the last petal that you put in. So now I got all 8 back again. And of course, you can also just drop them from your inventory in like this if you want. I'm dragging them. Now I'm alt left clicking and it drops them in. And the other way is to simply put a whole stack in, just like that. Now you see, because we needed 4, it put 4 in there. Oops, and I just remembered, I forgot something. Whenever you make something in the Petal apothecary, the last thing you need is seeds. For every flower that you make, you always need to put 1 seed into... Let me turn off this jetpack, it's annoying. You need to put in 1 seed. And then as soon as you drop the seed in, it completes it if you have the right ingredients, and it gives you what you wanted. And in this example, we got a Pure Daisy. Okay? And I want to make 2. So let's put this in real quick. And another one. And now we got 2 Pure Daisies. Now these Pure Daisies, like I said, they are transforming blocks for you. So let's put one right here. And start with oak. Now, I believe you can use any type of wood. I personally have not tried it with anything but vanilla woods. So I've tried jungle, spruce, oak, dark oak. They all seem to work. And what you do is you make a ring around it. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to just have 2 of them the other way like this. Just so you guys can see it doesn't matter what you do. And when you place blocks around it, you're going to start seeing these white particle effects. And then you know it's working. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you would put wood around here that is not proper, it does not know how to turn it into the living wood, it would not give you the particles. Okay? And the other thing we can do with this is use smooth stone. That is the only stone you can use. You cannot use cobble or stone bricks or anything. It needs to be smooth stone. And now hopefully this will turn quickly, so we don't need to wait too long. It doesn't take very long at all to turn them into the living wood and living rock. There we go. Now it's turning it into this living wood. You can clearly see how it works. You can see that it's done, and you see over here it doesn't matter how you place them, you get this. And as soon as it turned around, you harvest this and you're getting living wood from it. Now this other is going to take a few more seconds, the stone, but we can already put the living wood in the crafting table, and you see it turns into living wood planks. Don't remember actually if there's any recipes for that or they're just decoration. Oh, the open crate requires them. We're gonna get into that later on in this or the next episode. We'll see. Pattern framed living rock. So there's a few recipes for decorative and also other blocks. And now you see this living rock turned over also. And I personally, there is ways to automate this, which I showed off in, I believe, yeah, in my Crafting Paradise series. I automated this with a turtle, but I believe there's other ways also you can automate this with Steve's Factory Manager, Applied Energistics, and so on. But I'm not gonna get into this because that's cross-modding, and there's no way to automate it with Botania itself. And I honestly, I haven't found that you need that much of it. You do need quite a lot of living wood for when you start setting up a bunch of chains of mana spreaders and so on. But for example, the living rock, you really don't need that much. So I'm gonna go ahead and make myself about a stack of each of these real quick, and then we'll continue. Alright, I dressed up the area a little nicer because I don't want to just have the Petal apothecary over there by itself. So that's over here now, and there's a water source underground, and I just used some micro blocks so I cannot fall in here. There's other ways you could, you know, have an endless water source here, like a well or something from Pam's Harvest Craft. But I don't like them because they change the bucket position in your hotbar. And in case you're wondering, how am I hanging a bucket just like that on a block? It's pretty cool. That is actually from Draconic Evolution. And I believe the default key binding is whatever you have in your hand. So let's go right here. And that block, you hover over it, and when you press P, it puts it there. So you don't need an item frame or a shelf or anything. And when you left click, it turns it around. Right click, it takes it off again. That's not really part of Botania, but just so you guys know, how am I hanging this right there on the chest. And there's other blocks still in here. You guys see the planks I used. I made some of the framed living wood and also glimmering living wood with glowstone. And like I said, I just dressed it up. This is what all this looks like. It's framed living wood, glimmering. Over here I used carpenter's slopes with them just to make it a little nicer. And I made 2 more daisies just to, you know, make this faster if I need something on demand. But for now, we have plenty of items, and this over here is area that we're gonna set up here very shortly. It's just prepared, so I got the layout. The next tool that you probably want to make is the Wand of the Forest. And there's many different ones when you look through NEI. Where is it? Come on. What? I must have missed it a few times, probably. There they are. And with all these different colors. Now, they are all exactly the same. All the colors here mean is what type of petal you use. And in order to make that, you need to make living wood twigs. Those are pretty much the sticks of Botania. And they're somewhat expensive because it takes a log itself, not just the planks. And we need 3 of those. And then you put it in a crafting table like this with petals, any petals that you want. Any color of petals. And that is the difference. You can also use 2 different ones, and I'll just go with pink. So now we got a Wand of the Forest, and we're gonna need this a few times here shortly. And it's your main tool. It's your wrench of Botania. Okay? And now it is time for us to start with mana. We're gonna have to generate some mana and then store it somewhere. And it's pretty much just like energy. You have big storage cells, which in our case here are mana pools. And we're going to use only mana generating fauna, flora, flowers that doesn't require any runes to craft. And there are 3 different types that we're going to make now. And that is the Daybloom, the Nightshade, and the Hydroangeas. I can never pronounce this. The Hydro plant. Alright, the most common one, and that's why it's also in italic, is the Daybloom. Now, the Daybloom only works during the day, so it's like a solar panel, I would say. I don't know if rain actually affects it. Let's see if it says it somewhere here. Um, let's see. In order to transform sunlight. I don't know if it works in the rain, but if it's like solar panels, then I'm gonna say no, but I have not paid attention to that. And what you need for that is always 2 yellow, 1 orange, and 1 light blue petal. Okay? And let me just get all this on my bar so it is easier to drop in. Okay, and I also need my bucket. Alright, I'm just gonna make 1 on camera real quick. So you need 2 yellow, 1 baby blue or light blue, 1 orange, and 1 seed. And now we got a day bloom. And I'm gonna go ahead and craft up a few more so we have more to set up. So right now I made 8. There's gonna be many more of them, but for right now I just want to make 8. The second flower I want to make while we're in the process is the Nightshade, which is the opposite of the day bloom. It only works at night. So it is really nice. These two go nicely hand in hand, especially with the pattern that we're gonna set up with them. And it takes 2 black, 1 gray, and 1 purple petal. Then again, drop the seed in there, and now we got a Nightshade. I got the day blooms and night blooms all done, or Nightshades, sorry. And I wanted to mention one more thing that I find really cool about this book. When you have the book in your hand and you hover over a Botania item, you see the Botania Lexica with the question mark in the middle of my screen come up. And when you shift right click, it opens directly to the page or the chapter of that item. So right here now we're at the Petal apothecary. Over here at the living wood, shift right click, it goes directly to the pure daisy. So that is for every item that you can click on. Let's see here, living rock. It goes directly to decorative blocks and shows you how you can make that. It's a really awesome book. All right, so we need 2 more items. Now we have the flowers that are gonna generate mana for us, but they're just gonna store the mana in them. We need a way to take that mana and then send it to a storage device, which is a mana pool. Now the mana pool is very easy to make. It's just 5 living rock in a U shape like a boat. And it's now a diluted mana pool. That is the small version, and there is... I don't know of any recipe or any reason to have a diluted mana pool. It's possible that later on we find something, but for right now, I don't know of any. And I always make 2 of these mana pools, because as soon as you have mana in the first one, you drop a diluted mana pool into that to make a regular mana pool out of it. And I'll show you guys how that works in a second. And the last item we need for our mana network now is the mana spreader. And the way you make that is with 6 living wood, a gold ingot, and a petal of any color you want, and that makes a mana spreader. Alright, so now we have flowers, and the mana spreader is providing us with a transport system for this mana to our mana pools, or later on runic altar and so on. So now that we have everything that we need for our mana network, for our starting mana network, it's time to plan this out. Okay? And right here is going to be a very central spot for our... That's going to be the end point for our mana. There's going to be 4 mana pools around here. Then that's going to be the main area of where we're going to use the mana. Okay, we're going to have another runic altar over there, but then we're actually going to send the mana from here to there. So this right here is the middle point, and I marked that with the torch. And over here is the distance that I found out we can use. Now, when you put the mana spreader on top, you see it has an eye or something. It's like a cube in the middle, but you see it only has 1 hole. So when you equip your one of the forest, you see a trail going. And that means, hey, right now, if I had any mana, I would shoot it that way. And that's your indicator. And you see this particle spark right here? What that indicates is that after this point, it's losing mana. It gets weaker. And you want to take that into account, that when you lay this out, you can make a network of these. You can jump from one to the next, to the next, to the next. But every time you go from one spreader into the next one, you also lose a little bit of mana. Sorry, I get the hiccups. There's a way of how to prevent you losing mana completely, but that is something we'll go into later. Right now, we're just getting started with our first mana. So, I'm going to take these dirt blocks away because, well, they're ugly. And I'm going to put something underneath here. You can sit them on the ground. You can put them higher, whatever you want. I always like mine to just be up 2 blocks. It's just a personal preference. I like the look of it. Now, let's start with the day blooms. Okay, right now it's night, so it's a bad example, but I'm going to go sleep in a second. Now, they need direct access to the sky. Okay, so I cannot place one directly underneath the spreader. This one will never generate any mana. Okay, so the closest you can go is either here, 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 or there, or on these corners here, of course. Okay, and what you're seeing right now, the circle, is what they're also writing in the book, a bad way of doing it. Okay, and the reason is that you don't ever want to have day blooms right next to each other. Okay, you can have them diagonally like this, and it says it in the book. There's simply a, let's just see if it tells us a number. So shift right click on it. It tells you right here, bad and good. It has diminishing returns. Does it tell us how much? No, it doesn't. But it's just a thing that you need to take into account when you set this up. Okay, so let's leave these 4 here for a second. And when you hover over them with your wand in the forest, you see how the mana spreader highlights with a mesh or frame around it. What that shows you is that this day bloom is connected to this mana spreader. That means all the mana this day bloom generates will send automatically to this mana spreader. There's nothing else you need to do. And then once this has enough for a pulse, it will send it into that direction if there is something that can catch it. Right now, there's nothing, so it will not send it. All right? So now the thing is for you to find out how far can you go away. Let's go right here. Can I set one right there? No. You see, there's no mesh coming up. And it's for you to find out because it depends on the height. If this was sitting directly on the floor, you can go out 1 block further than if it's 2 up in the air like this. And I believe it is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I place one right there and take my one of the forest, you see it still lights up on the mana spreader. If I go one more and take my, it's not working anymore. And it's also in a circle. So I'm going to take these off real quick because I want to make the outer circle first. So it is, let me just right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double check. Yes, it's still connected. And it is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double check it. Yep, it's connected. And then the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's connected. All right. So now if you come here, like it was a square, and place this one, you see it is not connected. And you need to go in, I think 2 further. I don't think this one is... Oh, this one works also. So now let's find out. If I put one diagonally next to this one, it's not connecting anymore. So the next one I can put would be diagonally here. This is next to it. This doesn't work. This works. Okay. So I can go here. But of course, that is a layout issue that I don't like. So what I simply always do is I place these 8 first. So this one is going to go, I believe, no, right there. No, that's one too far out. No, it does work. Okay. Yes, it's one in front of it. So one in front of this line and one in front of that. So let's do the same over here. It goes to here. So right there is going to work. And always double check with your wand in the forest. And of course now, no, I should be fine. So right there. So now you got the outer border. And now let me get rid of these torches here for a second. And now what you can do is simply lay out. So you got to have one space right there, one space right there. And we cannot put one underneath. Another one here and another one there. And let's keep going. And this is how I... Whoops. I want to mess this up already. This is just what I do. When I plan this, how many more torches or how many more flowers do I need? I can simply count the torches. I cannot put one here, but I can put one there and there. Because they're diagonal. Another one here and here. There and there, and you get the picture. Alright, so now I placed all the torches of what we were just talking about, and I wanted to show you why sometimes going all the way to the edge is not the best thing. Like these right here in the corner, we found out that these will still reach. But, check this out, when you take this one and place it for this torch, you remember? We were able to find out this also still reaches it. So, now what happens when you place them like this is that you have one diagonal here and one there that you cannot fill, because if I put one right there, it is directly next to this one and they will get diminishing returns. So it would actually be better to not have this one, because then you can have an extra one, instead of one, you can have two right there. I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to show you. So, you know, instead of having the one on the corner there, and also I'm being so detailed of how am I finding out about this, because I still have torches, good. Because, like I mentioned, you know, everybody likes to have them at a different height. So when yours is on the ground, you can go a little further. Or if you want yours really high, like 3 or 4, you know, you cannot have them that far out. It's just, I wanted to show you guys how you find out, or how I find out, how to set these up. So now I know I have 4 more flowers. And what I do now is I take these torches off. And now I pick up all these torches right here. And then when I have them all picked up, I have an exact count of how many more dayblooms I need to make. I don't need to worry about counting them, you know. It's just an easier way, and I'm going to have to place these dayblooms anyway. And as soon as I have all those placed, we'll continue with the Nightshades. Alright, so this is all done. It was 44 more. So altogether it is, this field right here has 52 dayblooms right now. Now, you can go with more dayblooms, and there's a trick to this. Because, again, they cannot be directly next to each other, but as far as I know, elevation, oh my god, turn off this jetpack, works the same way. So what you can do is, for example, have more dayblooms. One, you can have one below, so now these are not directly next to each other. You would get a different particle effect if they have diminishing returns. And they're not directly next to each other because there's one elevation block between, so you could have more dayblooms underneath or above it. But I don't like that usually, because, well, especially if you play on a server, most of the times you don't have the way of always making it day, so we can just, you know, have these guys going crazy. When that is where the dayblooms come in, and Nightshades, sorry, where the Nightshades come in, because those you can fill into all the gaps. They do not matter. So you can have one field and you don't have any wasted space, and you just fill all the Nightshades in between. I think that they produce less mana than the dayblooms, hey, but it's still free mana during the night, and they go by the same rules. You just gotta check it's still connected, and the same thing with the radius. So let's just see here real quick if we can find out how far we can go out. I'm pretty sure we can go in between here, yes, but we cannot go here. Just like with the daybloom, it's one too far. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill the rest of all these holes here with Nightshades, and then we're finally gonna set up where the mana goes. All the Nightshades are now filled into those gaps, and we got a really decent mana production going now. With just these passive flowers. This is by far, you know, the most efficient mana production. I shouldn't say efficient. This is the most efficient because it's for free. It's just slow. But of course, you could set up many fields of this. Your FPS might drop a little the more you have of this because of all the particles. But there's, of course, faster ways of generating mana. And we're not doing those today. For example, the Endo Flame. Because, oh, actually, the Endo Flame, yes, we could do that one later, but I forgot that all the other ones here, they take runes, all the other flowers that you can make, and I forgot the Endo Flame. So the Hydro and the Endo also don't take any. I looked through all the other ones, like the Thermal Lily, they take runes. So it's possible, but we're not going to cover those yet today, but then start right away with them in the next episode. So, now this thing, of course, is already full with mana. It's been full for a while now. But preparing all this, these don't hold a lot of mana. So now we really gotta give this thing a place to store mana, okay? And that is where these diluted mana pools come in. Alright? Now the first thing that you do is simply put one down. And nothing happens. Because this thing here needs to point at the mana pool. Now, let me show you real quick. When you shift right click with the wand in your hand, you send it bind mode and now function mode. I'm gonna leave it in function mode right now. That's the default. And you can just when you just shift right click it in the back, you see you can kind of tell it where to point. Well, that's a pain in the butt. Okay, just shift right click and change your wand to bind mode. And now when I shift right click this and then shift right click another thing that accepts mana, now it's automatically aligned to point here. And you guys see it's already getting some mana now. So now the next thing you want to do is, you see when you have something in your hand that you can transform in the mana pool, you see it in the middle of your screen and it has the green check mark now. That tells me, hey, it has enough mana. So what I'm going to do now is simply drop this in here. And now I made a regular mana pool. And that's really what you want to use, okay? And now there is barely any mana in here, even though it looks a lot. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to break this guy and put down the regular mana pool, because that's what we really want to use. You never really use that diluted mana pool. And these hold probably in 100 times as much as this diluted mana pool. And because I don't need it anymore, I'm just going to drop that in here also. And I'm going to place it here for now. Later on, we're going to have two more, one here and one there, and then actually another device in the middle called the mana distributor that's going to split the mana up between those equally. Because, well, you want to start storing as much mana as you can, because later on you're going to need a lot. So, now that we have this, we can make one more flower today that I would like to do, because we needed mana in a mana pool for that. And that is the Hydroangeas. That's how I say it. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm just going to call it Hydroangeas. And for that, we need these cyan and blue mana petals. You see there, they have an outline. And the way you get those is by dropping them into a mana pool. Okay, so we need 2 of them and 2 of them. So all you can do is simply drop them in there. And you see, now I got cyan mana petals, and I'm gonna do the same with the blue. And it didn't have enough mana? No, it didn't. So let's take this in our hand, and when we have it in our hand, it's gonna tell you. You see the red X? So it just turned to the green check mark. They don't need a lot of mana, but because we just started, it took a while. So now that we have those, I need 2 more seeds. Actually, I'm making 2. Yes. That's all I'm gonna make, because I'm not a big fan of these flowers, and you'll see in a second why. So 2 cyan, 1 mana cyan, 1 blue, 1 mana blue, and 1 or 2 pink. Oh, just 1 pink. I made too many of those. And then of course a seed. And there we got one. So let me make the second one real quick. Alright, so I made 8 of these Hydroangeas plants. And I also made a bunch more mana spreaders and mana pools. You guys know how to make these now. And I prepared the area for those plants down here on purpose, far away from our mana pool. So I can show you guys how to transport mana long distances without any loss. You guys remember I told you if you go from one mana spreader to the next one, you have a little mana loss. But there's a way on doing it that you don't lose any mana. But let's start with the Hydroangeas first. If you check in the book, it shows you that the Hydroangeas plants need to be on the same level as the water. So you cannot have the water in the ground and then, for example, have the Hydroangeas up here. It doesn't suck up any of these water source blocks. And if you set up 4, it should be a 3x3 water pool. Because if all 4 of them simultaneously take the corner of the water, and it's any smaller, then you will not have an endless water source anymore. It will not regenerate. So if you only go with 2, for example, you shouldn't just go with a 1x3. Because if you take this source block and this source block, then you only have the one in the middle left and it cannot refill anymore. Or if you take this one, it doesn't either. What am I talking about? Then you only have these 2 and it doesn't regenerate. So you need at least a 3x2. So the best way is just to always go with 4 and make a 3x3, 9 blocks. And you should see it here now. It ate one, and there's one, and there's one. And you see this one just ate 3 times. It's random from what I can tell. There's never like, every 5 seconds it eat once. No, sometimes twice in a row, sometimes there's a long break, and so on. If you don't like it this way, I personally don't like it this way, because, I don't know, there's holes I can fall into everywhere, okay? I like it above ground, and I always use slabs personally, and then you can also place the flowers like this, and, well, you can make it look nicer, I think, this way. It looks like, hey, there's something going on. Of course, you can leave it like this, and you could cover this up with slabs, the entire area or something. That is the main benefit of using these flowers. Because these flowers can be in caves, they don't care about rain, sunlight, nothing. All they care about is that they have water next to them. Okay, so now that we got this, the other thing is with the Hydroangea plants, because they need this big area, I cannot use just one mana spreader. If I place the mana spreader above here, the 2 Hydroangeas back here cannot reach it anymore. If I put it here, these 2 can't reach it anymore. So what I need to do now is place one mana spreader above this pool and one above this pool. So I placed the 2 mana spreaders just 1 block above the water each. And this is where the fun starts for me. I love this part about Botania. You see they're just aiming in some directions. They're not going anywhere in particular. But right now I want to make sure that these 4 flowers are going to that and these 4 are going to that. And you can see this one is going to the correct one and this one is. I think by default they go to the nearest one. And if there's 2 at the same distance, this one seems to go to that one over there. So let's make sure we're in bind mode. Right click the plant, right click the spreader. And now when you look at it, see it's on the top right. It's kind of hard to see, but now it's tied to that one. This one is tied to the right place. And this one and this one. So now these 4 are going to that and these 4 are going to that. So now what I could do, and I'm going to show you guys, is simply right click this one and then go all the way over to this mana spreader. I don't even know if it's going to reach it. It does. But you see it loses mana right there and then it just trickles. I don't think any mana gets from that one now to this one at all. But I want to mark this spot right here. Am I right here? Let's see. Alright, it's right there. Let me just put a slab... no, let's put a slab down just so I can mark it here. So I know this is where it is. Alright, so now I need something here to catch this mana. I could put another mana spreader here. But as I told you twice now, when you go from one mana spreader to the next one, you lose mana. So what can we do here? Let's go up 4 like this. Just so I can place this mana pool right there. And now I'm going to have this guy aim at this mana pool. And you see there's no sparkle. It's going to get the full mana into this mana pool. And I'm going to take these off. I'm going to build something nicer underneath between episodes. And on this one, we're going to set another... Oh, come on. Mana spreader. Can I set it on top? Come on. Let me just get on this one. Here we go. So now this one is sitting on top. When a mana spreader sits directly on the pool, you don't need to do anything. It will automatically... It should already... You see, it already has the mana. It takes the mana out of the pool. And now this doesn't have any loss. And now I can see, can you hit... No, it's not going to be able to hit this. The spark ends here. So I'm going to need one more right here. And I'm going to put this in line right there. Let's go again. Let's go 2 up. Like this. And I'm going to put another mana pool. And now on top of this, I'm going to have the last spreader. I should be able to just... come on. There we go. And now I'm going to set this mana spreader... to this one, and this mana spreader to this mana pool. Does it make sense? You always... What? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's happening? Something is going the wrong way here. You go here. There we go. And you... I turned this one around. I also need to put a mana pool underneath this one. So you go here. So now this one goes there, and this one, that's the one I turned around, goes here. So you always go from mana spreader to pool, and then have a mana spreader on top of that pool going here. And these plants that are all here are still going into that mana spreader. They don't care about this pool. Okay, so now I have a lossless from this guy all the way to the end. And of course, I still have to do this one here. So I'm going to put another mana pool. Can I put you right there? And now go from this one into this mana pool. So now we go all the way from this one to the mana pools in the front, our main ones, without losing any mana. And I think that is really cool, making these chains, and there's gonna be, you know, everywhere around here. I'm gonna keep Botania in this area, Witchery and Thaumcraft and so on. This might move further away, but all these, I love it. Okay, and you can always move these when you're when you're not sure, you know, oh, okay, this is kind of bugging me here. Just have this guy point straight up in the air for a minute, because it's not going to shoot any mana from here if there's nothing that can receive mana, and then you can move these around. So it's really nice. You can move these around very easily and often if you want. And that is it. That is enough rambling. And next episode we continue with Botania and more mana generation, and then we're also going to start making more use of the mana by making runes and maybe even some toys already. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please make sure and go down in the comments and let me know what you guys think of this series, and make sure to always let me know if there's any mods that you know that are in the pack that you would like me to cover in more detail in these spotlights. That is it. Talk to you guys next time. Take care, stay safe, and bye bye.